Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Black Girl Flow podcast. L is for the way you look at me.
Keep going.
Okay. O is for the only one I see.
Woo!
V is very, very extraordinary.
Yes, it
E is even more than anyone that you adore. Okay.
Bravo.
Thank you. It's the season of love, ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
We are feeling all of the feels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, another Valentine's Day spent single.
Y'all.
Single as a Pringle.
Please. Somebody come get this girl.
Somebody come give me chocolates. How about that? Somebody come give me money. How about that? It's always somebody come get this girl. It's never somebody come get this girl and take her on a date. You know what I mean?
Never pay this woman's bills.
It's never like wine and dine me on Valentine's Day. When I feel like I just have to experience one time in my life. And I know that this is like totally not even like my style. But I just need to experience like walking into a hotel room
with the
petals on the floor, balloons on the ceiling, and like a Louis Vuitton box on the bed with the ribbon and like other things, whatever they begin, y'all. Like, I just need to experience that.
I can't wait to the day that you experience that, and then you're going to be like, it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be.
I know, I'm going to be like underrated as fuck, but it was cute. Like, I'm happy I had the experience.
I know.
I just have a feeling I'm going to end up with a frugal guy. So that's probably just like not even in the cards.
Hold the phone, y'all. We talk about it enough. What we speak out into this world is powerful. So I'm going to need you to take that one.
Maybe that's what's for the best.
Honestly,
that
actually might be true. Somebody needs to come get this girl. I, as an observer to Olivia's life, simple, neutral third party, I truly want to know, because I swear she has a calculator for life in her head.
Oh, yeah.
That corresponds with her bank account, and the math just never maths, in my opinion.
It doesn't.
But I've started to see TikToks that are like, that I think explain your mindset around it, being like, I have all these bills, and the issue with my bills is that I have to pay them. It's like, I think that's how Olivia feels.
Not you like taking TikToks and saving them and being like, maybe this is how her mindset is.
Either way, your calculator is just like, a coffee somehow makes so much more sense than like the electricity bill.
Yeah, I live one life. Okay. Drake should have never come out with YOLO, because that's my thing. And, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm not going to stop myself from being happy. Like, why would I do that to myself?
I know. It's very interesting. Very interesting. We respect the grind for sure.
Not interesting. Girl, bye.
The math does not math. The math doesn't math.
Well, listen, I still pay my rent. I still handle them bills.
She does.
So
that's why, as a neutral third party,
she's like, do you have a sugar daddy, or like, what's actually the tea? You're like, because the math is not mathing. Lexi exposed her
feet pics. I promise you that.
She is side drug dealer. She said she's from Atlanta. Girl.
Either way. I'm excited. We're recording this episode a little bit earlier because I will be away, very unplugged, off the grid, in Mexico. So I am really wishing everybody a really nice Valentine's Day, even if it's a galentine.
She's like, even though I will be on a trip with my man, international, I hope that you guys are all staying warm, with your significant other or not.
And I feel so supported. Thank you for wishing me well on my travels, because I want for my sisters what I have, and soon you too.
Other Black women in the lottery.
Back when
you can
I was 23. I also wasn't taking these trips. So soon, my darling.
Okay,
soon.
Now she pulling out the age card. I'm 24. Thank you. So I think around this time it was probably looking a little different.
5 minutes.
Okay. See, y'all, we are just loving the kikis today, obviously.
Either way, let's get into a quick pulse check.
Yes.
I think we've already chatted a little bit about what's going on, but how you feeling? What are you wishing for these days?
I feel like if I'm projecting how I'm feeling in the future while you're away, it's giving Ferris Bueller's Day off. I feel like I'm going to have my socks on, sliding around the hardwood floors, blasting music, just being
drinking
whatever,
hot chocolate with all the whipped cream
in the middle of the day type vibes. So I'm hoping that I am not missing you too much and bothering you too much while you on your vacation. But I'm probably going to be like, where are the pictures?
Oh, yeah. That's always.
So, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Yeah. And hopefully I've also been very productive if I'm predicting how I'm feeling in the future.
And you're going to be doing a little Galentine's get together, too, with the ladies.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Practicing being the hostess with the mostest. That should be the good vibes.
I be trying, y'all. I'm not a host person. I tell y'all this all the time, but we're gonna try. It stresses me out.
I literally looked at her. We were talking, and I was like, Liz, like if you would have people over, like I don't need to be there for that. And she was like, yo, I really don't like hosting. I was like, it's not about you being there or not. It's like the actual act of having to do it is the problem. Yeah. That was eye-opening for me. I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Well, how are you going to be feeling, future Lexi?
Yeah, hopefully away, unplugged. I'm not taking my computer. I really am just taking the basics. Hopefully going to just eat my weight in delicious food and come back. And I'm going to come back to like a massive inbox of things.
But we don't worry about that.
Yeah, that's future me problem. So hopefully it's a really positive trip. I'm really excited. It's been
and the wardrobe is looking right.
It is looking right. I think it'll be good. The weather's supposed to be really beautiful too. So I'm just happy to get away from the really chilly weather. So I think it should be really nice. Should be really nice getting away.
I love that. Also, it's so funny. I just got this mental image when you're talking about being there. I'm like, oh my God, you need to bring me back a Mexican poppy. But y'all know how people are always like, I'm going to meet my husband in Trader Joe's. When Lexi and I are at Trader Joe's, like we've seen this one guy at Trader Joe's being like, just like super cute, like in his scrubs when I first moved up to North Carolina. Yeah. And Lexi saw him the other day.
I did.
And didn't shoot her shot on my behalf. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm like,
I almost did.
I've got this really cute friend. Like, I think you guys would get along.
But our entry points into that conversation were very different. Where I was going to play it smooth. And you, like, basically was like full send. Like, walk up to this man and be like,
what's good?
Yeah, I have a friend.
That's how I am.
Yeah. And so if I see him again, then no, we'll have something to report on.
Exactly.
Well, since this episode is falling in the week of all things love, ooey gooey, we decided to talk this episode a little bit about a concept of desire.
Yes.
We thought this fit perfectly into this week of love, just to kind of take this concept of desire and unpack, 1, what is it? 2, what do we really get wrong about it? And 3, just how can we leverage desire into helping us better understand the world around us? And we did that just because a lot of our conversations we've been talking about just kind of one-offs with each other. We have been talking about these like deep moments and senses of longing and wanting and desire. And we didn't want to be cheesy about Valentine's Day. We're like, that doesn't really fit. But this idea of desire keeps showing up as we unpack what love and cultivating romantic relationships shows up in our life. So we wanted to just spend some time really teasing that out. And I'm really excited for this conversation just because I know there's a lot of different facets desire shows up in my life.
Yeah.
But it, at its simplest form, really is just this strong wanting.
Yeah.
This urge for longing, which I find fascinating.
Yeah.
Because it's not really what we're told societally. So how do you understand this concept of desire, and like what questions are you bringing into this?
I know I'm really excited for this conversation, especially after that beautiful pulse check where I just talk about my longing and desire for, a man in my life. But I think desire is just kind of like an innate, emotion, and yearning for love, yearning for power is something that we've cultivated within our society as kind of just one of those things that we all experience due to capitalism. Like, we're just always wanting more. And I think in my life, I come from a very do every extracurricular, like do everything, hit
Go,
the
go,
marks,
go. Yeah.
go for the purpose of having whatever goal achieved. And I am now, I think, now that I've been doing more research into how our brains like psychologically want more and are constantly yearning for more, I'm able to create more mindset shifts and reframe my desire for certain things.
Because you don't realize how much
it encompasses our entire existence.
Yes. And something that I'm always challenged with too is desire, when we talk about it, feeling very much romantic and sexual, and even one step further, very like heterosexual too. That as women, you know, we're kind of, our self-concept is often shaped with men's view of us.
Absolutely.
And men's desire for women. And for Black women, that's always complicated because we're swinging on the pendulum of either hyper sexually desired or a lack thereof. We've talked plenty of time about this on the podcast. And that's something that I've really had to unpack in my life, because I love that sense of desire. Like I love being desired.
Yeah.
And that's also a whole place that our brain psychologically loves. We love that attention. We love all of those.
Hence re-downloading and deleting the dating apps.
And it can
constantly.
And like you were saying, it can get us caught in a lot of cycles of how we're showing up with the world around us. And I would have never put those two and two together. I wouldn't say, oh, I'm re-downloading, you know, dating apps, you know, before I was in a relationship because I wanted that sense of desire. I wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
But when you really sit with it, it's like, oh my gosh, that sense of longing and being wanted to be wanted.
Yeah.
Is showing up in all the things that I'm doing.
Yeah. It's just, it feels like trying to fill a void, which feels very intense. I hate it when people say that for whatever reason, because it's like, I'm me, like I'm whole, right? And so you being like you're trying to fill a void feels like you're kind of trying to point out an insecurity that I have, and I never liked that language, but it does really suggest not feeling fulfilled with just being yourself and living the life that you live, because you're constantly yearning for more. And I think in my experience, when it comes to desire, I end up forcing situations, completely not living in my flow, because I am trying to have a particular outcome by a particular time with a particular person that may not even be suited for me. And so I think that this conversation will perfectly lend itself nicely to having conversations and thinking about conversations around love and the people that we have within our lives that we may desire, and it may be unrequited, or that like also fall into our flow and into our state of being.
Especially since we're around Valentine's Day, and this is kind of the culmination of all of those things. Like in overconsumption, this very like capitalistic idea of love, and this very sexual energy around it. And I think a lot of us, why it can be challenging sometimes to be single around this, is because you have that yearning and desire and longing for either someone, something, or an event. Like even you're talking about the bed of roses on the bed with the like, that's a desire, that's a longing. And I don't think desire is the bad thing. It's what's the object of the desire that shifts. And obviously, I'm sure y'all see we're holding the book of all books.
Yes.
I've been preaching about this book since we started the podcast, All About Love by Bell Hooks. And when she really talks about aspects of love, she's very clear about interrogating your level of desire, because sometimes we'll project this possession and ownership of someone or something, whether that's, you know, wanting to be controlling of being loved and the way you're being loved, or the possession of the individual that is showing you love. And she's like, that is not the love that is going to get us, one, is even true love.
Yeah.
Two, is going to get us to the cultural revolution that we need. And three, doesn't fill your cup at all. And so I just love this because I'm like, it really blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah. I think about all of the times, like, I don't know. It's just when you're in this space, we talk about it all the time, when you see other people experiencing certain things and you're like, I want to have that. I want to experience that. And the conversation around love is primarily romantic and sexual. And we never really consider about the other types of love, like the love for a sibling, the love for a friend, the love for a child, all of the other parts of love that encompass our day-to-day life that we don't put as much emphasis on or as much value on, because yet we're still like, I want to meet my soulmate and I want to meet them now. And like, that's the thing that I'm looking for. Like, I just want to have kids and I just want to do this. Yeah. But like, we hear celebrities and people who've made it talk about this all the time. The constant staircase, if you will, of wanting more and it's still not being enough. And not until we realize that we should just be happy with what we have and be grateful with what we have, can we even even understand and appreciate what we have in this life. You know, like, it's just, and it's not to say, again, like, desire isn't the bad thing, but it's like what we're trying to fulfill within ourselves is what needs to be examined.
And I think everybody who's listening can start to ask yourself, like, what has been the object of my desires and what has been the byproduct of having that mindset or that attitude towards an individual, towards a person? Like, have I spent so much of my energy thinking about this one thing that happened that I haven't been able to be present? Have I been chasing this dream or idea of an event happening, and in reality, it's not even a staircase, it's a hamster wheel, that it's never really going to be that thing? Like, I think we can all start to interrogate, or has my yearning to be desired put me in situations that had nothing beneficial for me, because the person who was desiring me wanted more possession and control over me than really my own liberation? And so I think we can all think about those facets of what has our own desires and the object of those led to in our lives and impacted us, and how can we be more mindful? Because essentially what you're saying in getting to the peace and the presence is being back in flow. Yeah. And we can really leverage this desire to help us get back in alignment and in flow and in peace. But we have to be aware of it. I always say you can't have a problem you can't see. So if you got your blinders on, you'd be like, nah, man. Like,
I know,
I'm playing cool. Like, you're not going to get anywhere with that.
I know. I think one thing in this season of my life that I'd like to examine more and research more is also like the law of detachment and not being, you know, attached to certain things to a certain extent. Because again, like, I am such a lover girl. Like, I love loving people and I love being attached to my belongings, like the things that I have in life, like the people that I have in life, all of these things. But like a lot of spiritual people, when they're talking about desire, they talk a lot about connecting with the feeling of however you want to feel with whatever thing you want to desire, like try to embody that within yourself. So it's like, okay, if I am yearning for a relationship, like what about that relationship makes me yearn for it? It's like, oh, feeling loved, like how can I give that love to myself, right? Yeah. And also I feel like the law of detachment gets to still understanding like the individual experience and understanding that suffering is just a part of life. Yeah. And that we can't escape it. So how can we still like love each other while still understanding that life is a process and that we're going to experience grief, we're going to undergo pain. We're going to experience all of the things. And we talk a lot about the risk of loving and how if you're loving someone, there's the innate understanding, that is going to end in heartbreak, because even if you love someone for your entire life and everything's great, like there will be a time when that person departs or you depart and you're not going to be able to be with them, and that experience in itself is like heartbreak. So what can we do to just understand the process of loving each other in a way that releases possession, and also like leaves us fulfilled within ourselves, so that we are not feeling depleted or like broken, or just like not whole when that person leaves us.
Yes.
That was a lot.
But it's weaving all of the facets and nuances together to say, being in that controlled, suspicious, deficit mindset keeps us from living in the abundance and fullness and reality of life. Life is good because it has its worries and its woes, its highs and its lows. I wasn't really trying to rhyme like that.
Listen, she a rapper. She a rapper.
And you're so correct that if we're not interrogating every aspect of that, then we might miss our opportunity. And as Black women, we just really we can't afford that. Like our abundance and our fullness and our wholeness is our survival.
Absolutely.
Which is why we have this platform, which is why we talk about this, because for us, it's not going to be a material thing that, gets us out of these oppressive
It's
systems.
not going to be the house.
Exactly.
It's not going to be the car. It's not going to be the Birkin. Okay.
I saw a tear just kind of well up in the corner of your eye. So it is these nuances, and it is a lot. And I'm here for that. I'm here for that. So yes.
Yeah. Yes. I want us to just love deeply, love boldly. And this whole piece about rejection as well. It's just like, we might have to really kiss that goodbye, because this whole game that we play, trying not to get hurt in the process of loving someone, is not beneficial to anybody.
When I hear people still doing that, I'm like, no, please.
I'm like,
and the reality of it is it really that you feel rejected by that person, or is it all of these desires that you've projected onto somebody that you're more disappointed in than you are the actual person? So we have so much, and I want to hear from you all. What's your relationship to desire? What narratives do you feel like you've received from society about desire? How do you see that showing up in this week of all things love and red and pink and sexy?
Yes, all of the things. And also, before we close out, we actually had a DM, from someone, a supporter of the podcast, and she just needed some sisterly advice. So we wanted to open up her question to you all and just kind of talk about it, because I feel like some other people may be in a situation like this. So, she says, I need some sisterly advice. I've been in my relationship for almost 2 years now, and my partner is struggling on living in their flow. My whole life, I've struggled with mental illness and have finally gotten to a point where I'm in control. However, with my partner struggling, it's bringing me down too. I don't know what to do. Do I stay and support them even though it's bringing me down too, or do I leave the person I want to spend the rest of my life with? Any advice helps. Okay. Ooh, girl.
The predicament.
That's yeah. I mean, and I appreciate this question so much. I appreciate the vulnerability. I think when I first read this question, I felt other people could benefit from it, because when we're in relationships with people, oftentimes it's not like a 50-50 like give and take. Sometimes when you're in a relationship, it's 70-30, sometimes it's 60-40, all of these things. And when you're saying, you're finally living in your flow, I've been in situations when I've been in relationships where life's been good, right? And I'm like, but like, you kind of struggling right now, and I feel like I'm having to, spend some of my time thriving, like helping lift you up. But, mental illness is something that is a roller coaster throughout your life. And as we talked about the stages of flow, it's not like a constant harmonious stage. It's like you're going to fluctuate. Sometimes you're going to be in flow. Sometimes you're going to be resting. Sometimes you're going to be resisting, like all of the things. And so we don't really give out like necessarily quote unquote advice, but things to think about, I would say, is just, being with someone requires that you give them grace, and you have to decide if this is someone that you feel like I'm willing to stick it out with them throughout the rough times because they held me down during the rough times. Yeah. If you're like, I'm trying to live in my flow and they just like are not even trying to get to that point, then that's something that you might need to evaluate and be like, I would rather have someone, even if they're struggling, understanding that they're still on this path of life, like elevation, trying to connect. But it's like, if you're just hands off the wheel, like I'm not trying to do anything, then that's something to consider.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful advice. And at the end of the day, you can't want flow for somebody if they don't want it for themselves.
Exactly.
So, if that's the boundary that you draw. And a really great question, I think, bringing to other people's awareness is like, I'm on that path. I want these things for my life. And maybe other people aren't there with you. And sometimes that can feel lonely and isolating. But you're probably a light to them and they're seeing that. And, like you said, having grace and, opening communication is just one step on that path.
There we go. If y'all need to ever come to us with any other sisterly advice, we are here.
Yes,
but we just thought it would be cool to share that with you guys. And thank y'all for joining us on another episode of the Black Girl Flow podcast.
We'll see y'all next time.
We'll see you guys next time. Peace, extra love this time. And blessings. Bye guys.
Y'all. All right. That wraps up our episode this week.
We'd really appreciate if y'all could rate us on Apple and Spotify, as it really helps grow our BGF tribe and support our podcast.
As always, the conversation continues on Instagram and TikTok, so connect with us there if you want to join in on all the keys.
With that said, we will see y'all next time.
Rest well, folks.